we are studying the commandment, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Is that what you remember where we are? Ready for 5th Testimonies 176 and 7? Now this is an interesting one. The first time I read this, I had to think about it, but I believe that it's true. It's hard for us to see it though, I think, in the beginning. It says, evil speaking is a twofold curse. You see, that's evil speaking is bearing false witness against our neighbor. So it says it's a twofold curse, but notice the next part, falling more heavily upon the speaker than upon the hearer. Now, we all have pain when somebody gossips about us, and it gets back to us what they said about us. Sure. But God says that the person who said those evil words hurt themselves worse than what you got hurt. You know, maybe you heard this saying, I heard it as a child, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Although words can hurt a lot. But apparently, this is given us so that we understand, don't get so worked up over what they said about you. They have hurt themselves worse than what they've hurt you. So actually, if we were fully like Jesus, we would feel pain for them. We would think, oh, Lord, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. They're damaging themselves. They're ruining their character by gossiping about me and saying all these things about me. But you have to get it from God to think that way, because humanly speaking, we're focusing right in on, oh, I treated them good, and look at the way they're treating me. Look what they're saying about me. You know, that's the human tendency. He who scatters the seeds of dissension and strife reaps in his own soul the deadly fruits. How miserable is the talebearer, the surmiser of evil. He is a stranger to true happiness. So, those that do it regularly, which often that's the case, you know, that people do it often. Either that or they make a mistake and do it and then they're sorry and, you know, don't do it a lot. But those that tend to do it, they do it a lot. And they're destroying their own happiness. The sin of evil speaking begins with the cherishing of evil thoughts. So that's the place to stop it. When thoughts come in our mind that are not good, we have to stop those thoughts by God's grace, because we might think that we'll never speak them, but under the right circumstances, we will. You know? And so if we gain the victory in the mind, then we'll never say it. Guile includes impurity in all its forms. An impure thought tolerated, an unholy desire cherished, and the soul is contaminated, its integrity compromised. So this kind of broadens it to things beyond evil speaking, but it's specifically talking about evil speaking, that when those evil thoughts come in our mind, then if we allow it to roll around and we think about it, it is going to contaminate us. I read a statement about Jesus one time in the testimonies, but I don't remember now where I read it. The secret that Jesus had to never sin was that every wrong thought was instantly repelled. So, he was tempted just like we are. Thoughts came in his mind. Suggestions by the devil and by maybe what he saw. Suggestions came in his mind. But he would not allow that to be in there even for a second. He instantly repelled it. So that's what this is telling us. That if we don't want to get contaminated, we have to instantly reject, by the power of God, of course, reject any thought that's wrong, that shouldn't be in there. It says, if we would not commit sin, we must shun its very beginnings. Every emotion and desire must be held in subjection to reason and conscience. So our emotions will suggest things and react to, situations and what people say. But we have to have the brain used to keep charge of those emotions, because emotions are very changeable. And that's what part of our learning process is. It says, every unholy thought must be instantly repelled. So we have to do what Jesus did, instantly repel any wrong thought. To your closet, followers of Christ. So here's how we can do it. When we get all worked up, we go to our closet. And we pray until we're not worked up anymore. And then we can refrain from saying the things that we shouldn't say. Another one from 7th Testimonies, page 260. It says, men have no right to surmise evil in regard to their fellow men. Have you ever thought something bad of someone and later you learned more about the story and you thought, oh, I shouldn't have jumped to conclusions about what they did? Well, that's a warning, isn't it? To never do it. In other words, I don't know what kind of percentage it would be, but let me just take an estimate. When we see things that we think are bad, that somebody, shouldn't be doing, or even sometimes what they say, because they didn't say too much, they said just a little, and we got the wrong idea. I would say that if we knew 10% of the whole picture, we're doing well. So there's 90% we don't know, and until we know 100%, we can't make a judgment call. We can say how it looks to us, but if we're concerned about the person, it's probably good to start by asking them, is this the situation? Or is there more to the situation than what I saw? And if we do that, we'll be a lot slower to make comments or to have feelings that shouldn't be. It says, church members have no right to follow their own impulses and inclinations in dealing with fellow members who have erred. That's again, takes prayer. But we may be really bothered by what they did, and they come before a business meeting, or it's dealt with privately, either way. And so we got to be careful that we manifest a Christ-like attitude toward that individual. They should not even express their prejudices regarding the erring, for thus they place in other minds the leaven of evil. Now, I've noticed people that do it this way. They come and they tell you something about someone else, and they say, I wonder if they did that. Or I wonder if this is what's going on. Well, they don't know for sure. They saw something that maybe made them wonder, and now they put that in our mind, that maybe this person has been disobedient. And once those things get in there, it's hard to get them out. In fact, what I've tried to do is that when somebody puts an idea in my mind, and they think that person's been bad, I go to that person and ask them about it, just so it doesn't have to stay in my mind, And if it's true, then we ought to pray for them. If it's not true, I go back to the person that said it and tell them, I checked into this and it's not really true what you told me. And this is what the situation actually is. And some people appreciate that and some don't. But I think that stops them from doing it to me. If they know I'm going to go and check it out and I'm going to come back, then they're going to be more careful. Yes.
In many years working in the laboratory, there was always a certain amount of political scuttlebutt going on, but I was surprised over the years how little I heard of it.
Probably they knew you didn't want to hear it. Yeah. Reports unfavorable to a brother or sister in the church are communicated from one to another of the church members. Mistakes are made and injustice is done because of an unwillingness on the part of someone to follow the directions given by the Lord Jesus. So there could be even a case that they get disfellowship from the church and they didn't deserve that. Or they got censored by the church and they didn't really deserve that because too many people talked. So that's why God wants us to be careful.
Those actions shouldn't be hasty.
No, they shouldn't. Here's another text. If thy brother shall trespass against thee, Christ declared, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. Matthew 18:15. Now there's a very important progression there of 3 steps. And I think that this is the way God wants the church to handle the things that we think are sinful. Because we really don't know till we go to the person and talk to them. I mean, of course, if you saw somebody committing adultery firsthand, you would know what you saw. But unfortunately, a lot of things we don't know for sure. So the first step is to go to the person, and if they don't listen, if we feel that they reject our desire to really try to help them or to try to understand, then we take 1 or 2 more people with us and we talk to them again. If they still reject that, then it's time to bring it before the whole church. And if we follow that, then we will never be unnecessarily hurting each other and damaging each other's reputation. Yes?
Even if it's not resolved, it may not be necessary to take it to the whole church if the problem is sort of minor.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, if it's resolved, you don't have to take it any farther.
But even if it isn't resolved, sometimes, I think Paul's counsel in 1 Corinthians 6, sometimes we can take it on the chin.
Yeah, if it's a small item, definitely we wouldn't take it before the church. Yes.
I know amount of blessings. I know it's a page 100 and something, the early one somewhere, just over the 100. That it said that, or she says, that we better be willing to lay our life down for this brother before we and find fault. And as an elder, I've had some experience with that. And I'll tell you what worked best for me was praying with the soul, asking them to pray for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that, just to set the stage and then just gently.
Right. That's very important, yes.
We had an unfortunate church trial here a few years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I urged the people that had their back up, don't press it. They demanded to have it resolved. It wound up finally, they were censured in the trial. Didn't have to bring it up at all. So it left hard feelings for a long time.
Yeah. Well, that's another whole problem. If we get to be worked up over what somebody else did or what we think the church needs to do, we are unable in that attitude to be helping that person. You know, salvation is supposed to be our number one concern when somebody's done something wrong. How can we handle this so that we don't lose a church member? Or if we lose them, they see that we love them enough that they don't want to leave the church. You know, that's what we need to be doing. But not everyone's in the spiritual condition to want to do that. Yes.
One quick comment. Ellen White spoke of a situation. Finally, she said, if that person goes to heaven, he has to go by himself.
Yeah. Yeah, because there was too much that she didn't know about the whole situation. Christ declared, I read that, do not tell others of the wrong. One person is told, then another, and still another, and continually the report grows, and the evil increases till the whole church is made to suffer. You know, you've probably seen these efforts to get signatures to try to bring pressure upon either an organization or somebody. Forgetting right now what they call it. Petition. This is kind of the same idea. People tell a bunch of people, and what they're hoping is that each person they tell will say, yeah, that's terrible. We need to do something about this. And if they get 10 or 20 people that are behind them, then they feel courage to go ahead, you know, and do something. But that's the same spirit as the petition. One time at Wildwood is the only time that I ever had to face a petition. But some of the workers got stirred up about Doug Batchelor's evangelistic meetings and some of the things he did, which I didn't like some of the things he did either. I thought they were not becoming for a pastor to do that. To give you an example, in the one about baptism, he had two guys in a VW, and the VW got submerged under the water. I thought, why in the world does he need to do something like that? And another time he put some money in his ear and, you know, was trying to illustrate something. Well, some of the workers at Wildwood, they got pretty unhappy about that. And they wanted us to stop showing his evangelistic meetings. My view was, well, I don't agree with those things. I don't like those things. But there's enough good that I'm not going to stop showing the meetings. And so they got quite a few signatures. But that was an interesting experience. It wasn't too long till most of those workers took themselves out of Wildwood. And I was kind of glad because the spirit wasn't good that they had in trying to do that.
The crowd mentality is really something, though. You recall how some of the same ones that were filled with hosannas when Jesus came in,
Mm-hmm.
week later they were calling him crucified. Same people.
Yeah, same ones, that's right. Settle the matter between thee and him alone. This is God's plan. Go not forth hastily to strive, lest thou know not what to do in the end thereof. That's where we didn't know enough. And so we sailed off, and there's more to the story. When thy neighbor hath put thee to shame. So now, when the whole truth is out, you're the one that looks bad. It says, debate thy cause with thy neighbor himself, and discover not a secret to another. That's Proverbs 25, 8, and 9. So we have the same principle in the Old Testament as in the New. Do not suffer sin upon your brother. Okay, here's the opposite ditch. Somebody does wrong, and we know about it, but we don't want to get involved. We don't want to do anything. We don't want to talk to them. We just let it go. We can't do that either. We have a responsibility to keep the church clean from sin, public sin especially, sin that brings this a bad reputation upon Adventists. So, you know, it's true, there's two ditches in every truth. Doesn't matter which truth we're looking at, there's always two ditches. So one ditch is gossip, evil speaking, spreading around the bad deeds that we feel other people did. And the opposite ditch is we ignore it. We don't do anything. We just let it go. Yes?
I know of a case where somebody who made a mistake, it's about adultery, was asked to make a confession publicly in the church because this was a public thing. Everybody knew about it. But I think that we need to be consistent with our policies. There are lots of things going on in the church where, nobody was asked to confess in front of the church, and that is very embarrassing. So it's only God and you, it's between you and God. And this person would like to be a member here, but because he did not make a public confession, no way, you cannot be a member of Village Chapel. But this person isn't going or coming because he said, my membership in the church doesn't prevent me from going to heaven. This is sad. Really sad.
Well, the sad
3 years or 4 already.
The sad part is the fact that we don't deal appropriately with everybody. You know, it is unfair to treat one this way and another one that way.
But Pastor, why do we have to refuse this person to be a member of the church?
Well,
Everybody's a sinner. This is a hospital for sinners.
I'll share, my thoughts on it. Of course, there's a lot I don't know, okay, about the whole situation, but I do believe something like adultery brings such a bad name to the Adventist church when it is known. Now, if nobody knows, that's a different story. If it's done in secret and nobody knows about it, we can handle it one way. But if it is known, it brings such a terrible blot upon the Adventist church that we must know whether that person is genuinely sorry or not. And one of the ways that we know is in whatever church knew about it. It doesn't have to be this one, because if they're just coming here, that's a different story. But in the church where everybody knew about it, and where whatever discipline was taken in regard to that, there does need to be an apology. Now, one thing that I have noticed, and I think it holds true always, the person who is truly converted can stand up front in front of a whole crowd and say they're sorry. But if they're not totally converted, they can't do it because they want to hide their sin. But Bible characters, they didn't hide their sin. David didn't hide his sin. He was very open about it. He saw his evil. Now, if people don't like us because we admitted our sin, they're not doing right to do that. Right.
Yeah, but the sin that was committed was already corrected. I mean, the divorce process was, finalized, and then this guy already remarried, and so.
Yeah, but the question is, did he straighten out the mess that he made? Did he do that? If he didn't, then it probably wouldn't be safe for this church to take him in, because we need to know as a church that genuine repentance has taken place. We need to know that.
But who knows the heart, Pastor?
But
The heart of people. What if they had already?
you can tell though by certain things, generally, not 100%, but pretty well. Yes.
You said something earlier, which is very true. We should not treat one this way and one that way.
Absolutely.
But this is what's happening and has been happening for a while in the church. I'm not from a local church, in the general church itself.
Mm-hmm.
I've known of a situation where ministers have committed adultery with members and they just move him to another church. Happens all over the place. Or when a member thing, it becomes a scandal, but now the member didn't commit the adultery in the church. The news just got around.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that the member, if the news got around enough, that it creates a stir. So the church is run by the elders. And the elders, they come and he confesses to the elders and think, not to the church body, but they're men sitting down who committed adultery themselves. And so it's really hard, because we are judging as we are the ultimate judge. But if that person is repentant of heart and have gone to the Lord and decided that he is in the position that now he needs to repent, to the elders tell him, historian, let it resolve, but it becomes a commotion. I've known of situations personally where ministers have had this thing going on and the church just move him to another place. He go do the same thing, they move him to another place. It's just like falling the Catholic. They just move him around.
Yeah.
But you have this whole other stirring with the local body that's going on. So that's just hard to understand.
Well, it's wrong. There's no question that it's wrong to do that. And there's a lot of unfairness. But here's the key point, I believe. We have a tendency, because of the unfairness, to be lax when we shouldn't be. So we can't use the unfairness to block us from doing what we need to do on a given occasion. And so the key is to find a way to be consistent. Now, you can't help what that church does over there, but the church that you're in, our job is to be fair with every case that we deal with. It's very important. And I think one of the things that's hindering the church a lot is the fact that sin is not dealt with. Frequently it's not dealt with. And people say, well, we're all sinners, so, let's not do anything. This is not what I read. This is not God's plan.
But we're told that licentiousness will be one of the major sins of the law these days.
Right. Now, I just heard, I was with a man over in Russia. I got connected with him a long time ago, and for some reason, we just really enjoy being together, and he speaks English really well, so he was telling me about his earlier life. He grew up in the Adventist church. In fact, his uncle was the president of the whole of Russia, a number of years ago. And a book has been written about him because he went to Siberia and suffered a lot, but he would not give in, to the truth, or not give up the truth. Anyway, this man was telling me, his name is David Kulikov. He said, as a young man, I went out and did all kinds of wrong things, and my name was still on the church books, and I did all those horrible things. And then the Lord got a hold of me and turned me around. And so he said, I came to the church and I said, you folks need to drop my name. You need to discipline me for the kind of lifestyle that I live. And they didn't want to do it. They said, well, you're changed now. But his conscience was driving him to tell the church, I want to take my punishment. And you disfellowship me, and later on, when I've proven myself, bring me back in. He wanted it that way, and he had to fight to get it that way. But that shows the attitude of the person who is truly sorry for their sins. That's the way they're going to act. They're not going to go by embarrassment. They're going to go by, my sin is terrible. I have dishonored Jesus. I've dishonored the church. And if it was a public sin, then I'm going to tell it publicly that I did that. I read an interesting quote in the testimonies. It said something like this: it's very bad to sin, but it's never bad to confess. Never. Now, of course, we don't need to spread to people that don't need to know. But it's an honor to confess. And when somebody will confess that they did something, that's time to honor them. Not criticize them, not look down upon them, but to honor them, because they have the courage and the Christianity to say, I did it. I did that evil thing. And I'm sorry I did it. And please pray for me so that I don't do that again. Yeah.
I know we really got to the bottom of this, but if I could make a quick comment.
Sure.
First of all, if a person makes a mistake, sinning, willful or not, I think we need to give the Holy Spirit time to work with that soul. Now, I'm not talking about a great deal of time. I sit on a lot of church boards, and many occasions have dealt with something very similar to what we're talking about here. You need to give God time to work. Two, if the person confesses, as the sister has said, they don't need to get into details.
No.
Or implement other people. Because I see the people, I've seen this, where if you implement another person or you blame another person or circumstances and all that, I don't think you're genuinely repentant, because none of that really matters. It's that we've sinned against God and we want to be restored. And lastly, not only in confession, just, to confess what commandment, but not get into details. How do I say this? When this comes forward and somebody is not angry and they're wanting to set it straight, that person needs to be removed. I've seen the greater success of a person asked to leave, names off the book, and then love them back in, and it's okay.
Yeah, that's the secret.
Just to say, well, I just don't go there. That's a mistake.
Yeah, I agree. And here's what often happens. They get disciplined and then shunned. See, that's the worst thing we can do. They need to feel our love after the discipline even more than before the discipline. Yes.
What if the person himself is the one shunning the church? He told the church
Yeah. Well, that's natural human reaction, I think. You feel embarrassed. You don't want to, every time you go to church, you get the idea, well, they're talking about me, and so you want to stay away. But I think if, as the church, we go out of our way to show them we love them, and that to sin is bad, yes, but to repent and to confess is good. And we're not going to look down on you because you sinned. We want you to be with us. That's where all of us have sinned needs to come in. We might not have sinned in the same degree as they did, but we've all sinned. So we need to use that angle to encourage them to come back and be with us. Yes.
So if we refuse this person to be a part of us, we're shutting the door of the church toward this person.
Yeah, my understanding is that they can attend church when they're disfellowshipped. We're not saying you can't come to church. And so, own what happened here. We cannot. We have to manifest to the world that we don't allow that type of thing to go on here. Yes.
He said, given a policy that after a year, this person keeps coming and, he's straightened his life and is faithful, then we reinstate him.
If genuine repentance is manifested. Yes. The time is not as important, I don't think. Although I had one case, he wasn't a member of my church, but I was involved with it. He wrote a letter of sorrow before he broke up his first marriage. And I said to myself, wait a minute, that's a little bit too soon. For somebody, it sounds like a strategy to try not to get kicked out. And so, the person needs to stop. If they don't stop and they go ahead and do the wrong, then there needs to be a period of time to go by to demonstrate true sorrow for sin, and then but all during that time we need to love them. All right, then we have one more commandment, but our time is about up, so maybe I'll just read it, but we'll study it next time. It's in Deuteronomy 5:21. It's the 10th commandment. It says, neither shalt thou desire thy neighbor's wife. Now notice the way that's put. Now in the Exodus one, it says, don't covet your neighbor's wife. But this one uses the word desire. Neither shalt thou desire thy neighbor's wife, neither shalt thou covet thy neighbor's house, his field, or his manservant, or his maidservant, his ox, or his ass, or anything that is thy neighbor's. So as we come down to the 10th commandment, we have one that's easy to see that is very broad. All of them are. You remember, the Bible says if you break one, how many do you break? All. So the commandments are extremely broad, every one of them, all 10 of them. But this one is so obvious that actually the motive that's in our heart, that is what God looks at. It's not just the action. He looks at the action, yes, but even more important than the action, he looks at the motive. That's why we get mixed up when we try to read other people often, because we don't know the motive, why they did it. They might have said something unkind, but maybe they didn't mean to hurt us. Maybe they just didn't stop to think about how those particular words would strike us. And so if we understand they had no motive to hurt us, it will make a difference. Now we look at them, even though maybe there would have still been some pain that you can't get rid of, but it is the motive that this commandment is dealing with. So it even says you're not supposed to desire your neighbor's wife.